Welcome back to episode number 20 of the Ohio State of Mind podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Michael Chen. On the other side of me is Joshua Keatley. We'll be joined by our managing editor of Buckeyes Wire, Phil Harrison, shortly. Phil had to go pick up his daughter, so we are just waiting on him. That's why we were a couple minutes late. We were hoping to get him on right from the get-go, but life happens. So Josh, let's get right into some of the biggest Buckeye news of this past week. The spring practices have started, and we got a couple glimpses online yesterday. There's a bunch of videos shared. Now, of course, only the first few minutes of practice was media open and allowed to record and kind of post and all that. So. What were your initial thoughts out of the gate? What did you think, Josh?
Well, I think it's pretty clear. Will Howard is a bust, and Devin Brown is the new starting quarterback. No, I'm joking. No, there was nothing to take away, but there were a ton of little interesting little tidbits.
Sure.
Some people were alarmed, like Quinshon Judkins and Seth McLaughlin weren't lining up with the ones. You just left. There you go. But as many people point out, transfers typically don't run with the right ones. But two transfers did, my friend, and it was Caleb Downs, as expected, and
shocker.
You'd be okay. I didn't catch the sarcasm fast enough. And Will Kazmarek, the tight end from Ohio, your favorite incoming transfer.
That's my guy.
Rumor has it. Now I'm gonna sandwich this though, because I'll start out by saying something that it looks like you might be wrong about, and then something that looks like you were right about. So rumor has it Kazmarek put on about 15 pounds already, and he just looks like an absolute dynamo. So very exciting, very excited for that. Big win for the small school guys. But something you were right on that I was wrong about is that Edric Houston showed up. They said he looked about 10 pounds lighter, looks thin and svelte and ready to rock and roll, and is probably going to see gonna play this year on the edge. Again, this was all gathered for 15 minutes. I scoured over it, just trying to pick and prod and find something to talk about. And nitpicking. Devin Brown looked great. Everybody said
looks good. Mm-hmm.
He's been hitting the gym. Aaron Nolan looked good. Julian Sand looked good.
Shocker.
Boy, Jeremiah Smith looked good. I mean, I could go on and on about all the guys that looked good. I only heard bad things about Will Howard, but again, hiccups. I'm trying to think of who else that's it, man. But I'll let you go, because I feel like I've rambled on long enough.
No, it's all good. I pretty much captured this, the very similar takes that you had, from the small clips that we saw. Will Howard wasn't super accurate, which I don't think he was necessarily billed as being like a super accurate guy. And I remember he's working with a whole new group of wide receivers, a brand new offensive system. So for him to have a bad day initially, or a bad 15 minutes, I mean, honestly, that's all they saw. They saw him warming up pretty much. And you know what? Maybe it took him a little, it's like a starting pitcher. Maybe it takes him a little bit to work his arm into it and get a lather going. And then he's gotten to the groove later on in practice. But yeah, of course, what we saw, and, everyone's going to overreact about the first spring practice, which I get it. I understand it. But on the other hand, try to take it as a whole. You want to see improvement. You want to see that growth, right? And I'm not super concerned about, Will Howard, Devin Brown. Brown knows the speed of his receivers, how he's working it, and all that. So, that's not concerning to me. Like you said, a couple of transfers weren't running with the first team. They still got their black stripes on. They got to earn it. You got to earn that. And,
including the All-American.
Yeah, I mean,
the SEC leader in tackle, or the leader in tackles.
Judkins was rocking one too. So you have to earn it. That's part of your introduction into Buckeye Nation, is that you have to earn getting that black stripe taken off. And it's not going to be after most guys. Like, let's be real here. Carnell Tate was like a complete aberration last year, right? Most guys, it takes them a week to 2 weeks to really get it going and to, for the coaches to give them the green light to take that flag strike. So, again, I'm not super concerned about that. I just think that, everyone's going to overreact, and rightfully so, because, the 15 minutes that you see or the couple, 3, 4 clips that were shared online, it didn't look all that great. And I get it, but it's the long run. Don't worry about it. It's one fight.
Well, I don't think I haven't seen a whole lot of people overreact, right? There hasn't been anybody. I was exaggerating, being sarcastic, I think, when I said Will Howard. So, but I haven't seen anybody. I haven't seen any hatred online towards him. I think everybody's still pretty excited about him. But I do think that this should be a wake-up call that, hey, Devin Brown's not going away. He had a very passionate interview when he was available for the press earlier in the week.
Yep.
We know he's good. This is a former 4-star kid. This is not I don't know why everybody throws him away like a piece of garbage. They added Chip Kelly, which is going to obviously include more running of the quarterback. So, I don't think Devin Brown should be thrown away. Here he is, though.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Phil, how you doing?
How we doing?
Hey, Phil, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for joining us.
Been a while since we got on camera and saw each other, huh?
Yeah.
Well, Michael and I are on here every week.
I know.
But yeah, we were just talking about the 15 minutes of spring practice that we got to see, and the Will Howard versus Devin Brown deal, and all that good stuff. You have any thoughts from the first minutes of spring?
You're breaking up a little bit. Is that me or is that you?
Mike, is that me?
I think it's you, Josh.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess my first few thoughts is I don't know that I don't know whose starting job it's going to be. I guess you expect it to be Will Howard, but Aaron Nolan looks pretty good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, in that one little clip that they showed him throwing, the running backs, it looked good. He was accurate.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, that's what he's billed as coming in, though. So you kind of have to expect it.
Well, with nobody coming at him, right? Obviously you got to see what happens when he gets out there with defense and all that. So you got to learn the offense. I mean, Howard's probably he's seen a lot more than anybody else has. So you got to expect he's gonna. If he doesn't grab the starting job, to me that means that's a good problem to have, because that means one of those freshmen must have done really, really good. Or Howard just doesn't grasp the offense, right? But I don't know. He's been around for a while, so you'd think that would come. But man, what a lot of talent on this team across the board. Excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, they should definitely be the favorites to win the national championship. I mean, when those odds come out across every betting.
I mean, you got Georgia, right? That everybody seems to be high on, but
Right.
I actually think Ohio State has more talent than Georgia with what they pulled. So no one wants to hear that, but I think it's
No, I would agree with that. I mean, you got 2 running backs that look like they're first round ready, and 2 defensive ends that probably could have been drafted in the first round, and a quarterback who was all conference in his own conference. I mean, it's really hard to.
What are you going over there, Josh? You got the police coming to get you or what? Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's going to boil down offensive line, right? How good is that offensive line going to be? Can they be better than last year? Because that seemed to be the biggest spot that caused issues. So we'll see.
Yeah, they're shifting guys around over there, and speaking of another shift, Sonny Styles officially got moved to linebacker. Phil, what are your takes on that? Is it the right move? It's too late.
I think so. I mean, at some point you got to find a spot for the guy, right? I mean, he's the size. I mean, size-wise, it makes sense that he's at a linebacker spot, right? I mean, I know the guy's got a lot of speed and he can cover a lot of stuff, but you can do a lot of stuff with a guy at linebacker like that because he can drop back in coverage a lot, right? You can disguise a lot of stuff. I know they only use 2 linebackers, but getting him closer to the line and being physical and making some plays along the line, I think is probably the right move at some point. And it feels like this is the time to do it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely time to do it because you've got plenty of practice to get it right, and he's been all over the field. He rushes the passer, like you said, Phil. He could drop back into coverage. I mean, I think it's I've been talking about this move for over a year now. It's just his frame. He's 6'4", like 230 pounds. He adds 10 more pounds, which he can do in this offseason.
Oh, yeah.
He's NFL prototypical lineman. He reminds me a little bit of Darron Lee because how athletic they are at the position. They can kind of do everything.
Right.
So, I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, do you remember Isaiah Simmons, right, for Clemson, right?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
I see he kind of in that mold too, right? You can do a lot of stuff with that guy, especially in a safety-driven defense like Knowles has, right? I mean, there's a bunch of safeties on the field already, but you could really move him around and get him into a lot of situations and let him drop back in coverage, let him get in space. But he's big enough and athletic enough to go through the line and make some plays and bring some ball carriers down and become a havoc in the backfield. So got to quit though. I think he's the toy that they haven't really figured out how to use yet. And I think at some point you got to pick where he's going to go, put him in and learn a position, right? So that seems like, maybe linebacker is what it is. And if it is, let's get him in there and get him up to speed.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by how I don't want to say abrupt, but I mean, I guess I was expecting them to kind of dance around it in the spring. Him play some linebacker, then move him to defensive back for some of the drills. That's not what happened. It does look like he is staying at linebacker. But either way, I agree with everything you guys are saying. He's an absolute stud. This is a guy who's probably going to be in everybody's first round mocks heading into the season, whether it be at linebacker or safety. He's kind of like that tweener, like you said, Isaiah Simmons, where you can really be a weapon at the college level if you have that skill set, kind of like Deion Buchanan was at Washington State, who ended up being a first-round draft pick. A little bit like the Michigan utilized Jabril Peppers in a fairly similar way. So, somebody that can dominate both the pass rusher and in coverage. I'm excited to see what they do with him. There's kind of a logjam there at linebacker. I don't know if guys are going to transfer out or what's going on, but you got Styles, you got Cody Simon. Cody Simon seems to be the stalwart, right? And then you got CJ Hicks, who looks like he's going to get some time. And then Arvell Reese was running with CJ Hicks with the twos. But then you have Gabe Powers and Nigel Glover sitting behind those two guys, and those guys are very, very talented former four-star guys. Gabe Powers is going into his third season, so it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what they do and how they're going to get time.
Yeah, and things could change too, right? I mean, we're just basically judging based on what we see in one day of practice or 2 days, in the spring. But this thing will probably change. Remember when everyone talked about the hybrid position that never really became the jack position, right? That they toyed around with forever and kind of used it, and never really took. So they're playing with stuff too. I think we got to keep that in mind. But definitely for his size, I think it makes sense to move him closer to the line. But they're going to get him on the field, right? No, I mean, you just have to get that guy on the field.
Of course. Yeah. They're definitely going to get in the field, And another guy that's probably going to see some early time is Jeremiah Smith. The couple clips that we saw. Yeah. Talk to me about what you saw, Phil.
I mean, we just had a generational talent with Marvin, right? I mean, can we say the same thing? I mean, top rated recruit, boy, he is long, has great hands, and I know people talk about his speed, but for his size and his length, man, he can get up and go. And I won't be surprised at all if he breaks into the starting lineup in that third spot, because he's just that good. Now, got to pick up the offense, but wide receiver position, a little easier to pick up the offense than a lot of others. You can get out there, draw plays in the sand and go, right? Things break down. He's just, he should be a really good one. And it just keeps coming at Ohio State, right? I mean, you lose to Marvin Harrison Jr. and I would, again, not surprised at all if Jeremiah Smith becomes that next guy. We start talking about, was he one of the best to ever come through the program? I think he's got that kind of talent and that kind of ceiling.
Yeah, he definitely already looked like an NFL receiver. I mean, he's got the size. He already has the size to be an NFL receiver.
He's built coming right in, isn't he?
Yeah, the only issue I have with it is that it's kind of like the whole new shiny new toy situation where it's like, man, you can't forget Carnell Tate showed a lot of potential last year. That guy's going to get Brandon Ennis. I mean, that's another guy who's got a lot of talent as a former four-star. Jaden Bauer, we kind of forgot about him. Rumor has it he's put on about 15 pounds, and I know, Michael, you kind of throw him to the side, kind of like Julian Fleming. That's this year's version of Julian Fleming.
Well, not as terrible. It wasn't a 5-star, so it's a little bit different. But
hey, you know what though? Julian Fleming has the best NIL commercial out there right now. Okay, so put some respect on his name. Have you seen it?
No.
He takes the hammer and smashes the car for the Pennsylvania car dealership. No. Oh, dude, you got to go watch it. But that's another day. But I haven't given up on Jaden Ballard. I still think he's a dude. That's a former 4-star. That's one of those guys that you kind of keep hearing about. I think Luke Montgomery's that version on the offensive line where it's like, okay, you keep talking about him, put him out there. So I'm not really ready to give up on him yet either. So
I'm not giving up on any of those guys, but I think, with where Ryan Day and the staff is, they're going to play the best guy. They have to.
Yeah.
You got to win this year. And Jeremiah Smith, no matter what situation you put him in, all-star games, whatever, he has shown up, right? And so it's not like he came out of South Florida. It's not like he's doing it against, Division III schools here. He's legit, and he's shown up every time. So I think, if he's one of the top three, he's in that starting lineup, right? And the other guys, you just got to kind of filter in. So again, not surprised at all if he breaks in and becomes a playmaker almost day one.
Yeah, even with them losing Marvin Harrison, Michael and I were talking about last week. I mean, the receiver group is probably, it's still one of the best receiving groups in the country. It really, truly is. I mean, assuming that those guys, even if Jeremiah Smith if he just is half of what his hype is this season, this is still a great receiver. Because we didn't talk about Emeka Egbuka, who's also a borderline first round talent. I'm still shocked that he decided to come back this past year because he's every bit an All-American level of talent.
Got to stay healthy, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Got to. That's been the issues the last couple of years, right? You see a wide receiver go down, and Smith and Jigma went down. You're talking about Nick Bosa going down a couple of years ago as well. It's just been a recurring theme with Ohio State that one of their stars goes down.
Yeah. Is that your prediction, Michael?
No. I'm not saying. I'm not saying
that.
But he's been hurt. Trevion's been hurt. Guys get hurt. It's part of football.
But this team, I think, is
it's deeper,
right? Even deeper than some of those other. Even again, we came a field goal away probably from winning a national title in 2020, right? And this team is way deeper than that one. So. Hopefully, and especially at running back, you're gonna need those guys, right? We've seen that over the past few years, and with Chip Kelly coming in, the running back is going to be utilized, and it sounds like at a faster breakneck speed. So you have to run those guys in and out. So you're going to have depth.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I heard about that. The up tempo, trying to get them to move. I love that. That fits so well with this offense.
Yep, for sure.
Well, you and I talked about that a couple of weeks ago, the Chip Kelly thing. I'm still getting messages where everybody's kind of making fun of the Chip Kelly hire, and it's always washing. First of all, again, he's not the head coach, right? I don't want to rehash that podcast that we had, but another more things are coming to light as to why he left UCLA. In the NIL transfer portal thing, he didn't handle it well there. UCLA doing the rounds. Yeah, they had him doing the rounds, begging for money, and he was like, "I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm out." So I think his issues out there were less about his coaching ability and more about him just not wanting to be a car salesman. But they're still talking about a guy who was an NFL head coach and who built the Oregon program. I'm excited about it. I trust everything he's got to say. I think he tells it how it is. I think it's a great hire. I was excited about Bill O'Brien as well, but I'm even more excited about Chip Kelly. I think that they're going to work well together in tandem. It's kind of surprising to see all the negativity that's still kind of floating out there around the Chip Kelly hire. But I guess you got to complain about something.
Isn't it funny how Ohio State seems to lose a guy and somehow they get an upgrade almost always, right? It's like. There's just the way the program attracts talent, right? Like, Bill O'Brien was a good hire. You felt pretty good about it, but who doesn't feel better about Chip Kelly coming in to run the offense, right? It's crazy. He really ushered in a lot of the attacks you see today, right? With the spread and the tempo. I know tempo's gone a little bit backwards than what it was, but Alabama went tempo because of Chip Kelly. Let's be real. So, it'll be exciting to see because we lost a little bit number of plays last year with those clock rules, right? And kind of relying on your defense. Now, can you rely on the defense and bring that tempo? That's going to be amazing if that those two things marry together.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does as far as rotation goes. He was always he was a very reliable rotator at Oregon. There was a couple, you remember some of those dual backfields where there was, LaMichael James and LeGarrette Blount, or, there's some of those other fast guys back there rotating in. So him utilizing Quinshon Judkins, and that has not been Ohio State's greatest trait recently, is rotating those running backs.
Rotating anybody, really.
Really, yeah, but the running back, I mean, I guess it's not really. I don't want to blame
Well,
Ryan Day 100%
because of injury. Yeah, we rotated because of injury, but
right.
Yeah, exactly. But it was, but playing Xavier Johnson was by no means their true. Well, they played him over Dallin Hayden, so who am I? But I think that it's going to be an even bigger benefit to have those two running backs. I think you're going to see, Travion B, the long distance sprinter, and Quinshon Judkins. Quinshon Judkins may have a year like Blake Corum, he has 20 touchdowns within the 5-yard line. Who knows? I think that's a real possibility, though.
It's like the whole thunder and lightning thing, right? I mean, it's almost the same as what you mentioned with Michael James and Blount, right? Like,
yeah,
Kelly's got kind of a similar setup there. So, and there's other guys, by the way, that can run the football at Ohio State if you need to, right? So, but those two clearly are going to be number 1 A and 1B. Should be fun.
Yeah, I mean, the depth goes into it because you're also talking about Hayden, who's just kind of sitting back there. You got James People who's coming in as a freshman, who's a 4-star recruit. So yeah, depth is there, and you have to feel like Ryan Day knows that this year he's got to have that rotation get a little bit deeper, because he's talked about how you're playing almost an NFL schedule here with the expanded playoffs, because you got extra games, so you can get that first round bye, but you're still going to go through 3 games after that. So it's going to be a lot, and I think that now this year is going to tell a lot about the adjustments that he actually made, because he's hired an offensive coordinator. He can be more of a CEO. Now, if he's going back and reverting to what he's been doing the last few years, which obviously hasn't worked, what do you do with him? That's the big question right there.
Well, and I think it's a great point. And I know all of our opinions differ here on the job Ryan Day is doing. I know how you guys feel about it. I've listened to the podcast. Obviously, we write together, so I get it. I do want to give Ryan Day a lot of credit, because one thing that he does go out and do is when he sees a problem, he puts his finger on it, right? He's competitive, and he goes and tries to fix it. If there's one knock I would give Urban Meyer, is that he didn't necessarily do that. He was almost too loyal with some things. Like you kept Cardale Jones in as a starting quarterback for more than half the season, when everyone really knew JT Barrett was the guy that should have been there. You stayed with, we won't mention his name, wide receiver coach forever, because he was loyal. And it's like, you just, as much and as good as Urban Meyer was, you felt like there should have been some more national titles in there, right? Oh, yeah. And I really think there was a fault of not really going out and making those moves and upsetting the apple cart with guys that were on the staff or players. Ryan Day is not afraid to do that. And so you have to at least give the guy credit for that, because he's really tried to go out. I mean, we got Jim Knowles because the defense was putrid, right, for those years. That made a huge difference.
I don't disagree with that. I agree with everything you're saying. The problem I have with it is that he gets a lot of credit, but for doing it like a year too late, right? Like I understand what you're saying. Like Urban Meyer never did it, but it's like, okay, last year he said that he was good. He needed someone to come in and call plays. Yep. He said it, and he didn't do it, right? And he did this year. I didn't say he did this year. He gets around to it, but it's like, I think that there's probably something we could probably meet in the middle with, okay, I should give him more credit for doing it at all, but also there needs to be some realization that, okay, it's not, there are most great coaches like Nick Saban identify that immediately, right?
Yeah, there's only so many Nick Sabans to go around, though, right? But I completely agree with you. But I will give the guy a little bit of credit for, he is not afraid to make changes, and even to the detriment of people that he really, really respects, right? Because they're just not getting the job done. So we'll see. Hopefully, this is a make or break year, right? You got to win this year. And I hate to say it, but it's probably a national title or bust. It's Big Ten championship or bust, or, you got a new AD. People are going to be upset, right? If Ohio State's not at least razor thin away from winning a national title this year.
Mm-hmm.
But see, Michael actually a couple weeks ago, he kind of changed his tune about that, though. You don't think that if he loses the Big Ten, you don't think it's his job?
No, I don't think so. Because you lose the Big Ten, you're probably still making the college football playoff, because there's the expansion going on, and then on top of that, you still make a run. And again, like Phil said, razor thin. You want to be close. If they're not close, it's hard to win a national championship. I mean, let's be real here. It's not easy. So you can't just say it's title or bust. Then coaches would get fired every single year without just cause. Good coaches too. Like, that's where one coach across the country wins a title, every year. It's just the reality of the situation. But like Phil said, it has to be close. They have to get far. They have to at least get to the championship game and be competitive, right?
Well,
That's the borderline. Because again, if you fire Ryan Day, who comes in? Who's going to be a better replacement that's not already at a school that they want to be in?
Well, let me ask you this. You let's say you win the Big Ten, but you lose to Michigan and you don't win a national title. What happens?
That's tough.
What was the scenario?
That's tough.
You win the Big Ten, you lose to Michigan, and you only get close with national title. I think he's still safe.
I still think so.
On that, but fans would not be happy, right? I mean, that would not work.
Yeah. I think so. I understand what you guys are saying about the playoffs, and I agree 100%. I don't want to take it. It would be hard for me to even factor in the playoffs because it's such a crapshoot, especially with the new format. But as far as the schedule goes, I mean, he should win the Big Ten, right? I mean, they got
You have the game at Oregon, right? That's going to be big. That's going to be the biggest one, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I can lose that in this new format, right? And
it's a huge.
Right? That's it. That's the hardest game. In Michigan, Michigan's always hard, but they bring in a new coach, right? So if he doesn't win the Big Ten, that I get. If he wins the Big Ten and loses in the first round, I would be less upset than if he lost the Big Ten because it feels like, how do you not win? Does that make sense? It feels like if you're wanting everything to fall at your feet to win the Big Ten, this is the year.
Well, you have the team to do it this year. Let's be real, right? I mean,
right.
But it is going to be hard in Eugene, which, by the way, I'd love to go out to Eugene and see that game, right? Because I've never been.
Yeah.
I've been on the outside of the stadium, but I've never been inside there. I hear it's a pretty amazing place to go and watch a game. So that's another good thing. We have all these venues now that we go to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Right? Go to the Rose Bowl, so that'd be kind of cool too. You go out and see some of these new. I'd love to go to Washington. That's an amazing setting out there on the lake with the boats coming in, such. So
that might be you might be sailgating in Northwestern too next year.
Yeah.
But does what I'm saying make sense? Yes. I mean, I don't feel like. I mean, I get what you're saying too. Like, who's going to come in? But it's like, Alabama found a guy. They found a real good guy.
But that's what Ohio State should do, right? They should be able to hire somebody to come in. I mean, in all reality, what other?
He's the fourth highest paid. Well, no, I think he's the third now. Right now, the Saban's gone.
There's maybe 5 programs that could go out and try to get almost anybody they want. Ohio State's one of them, right? So I don't.
Yeah,
he's never going to lure away and make Saban, right? But almost anybody else that's out there, you got to think they're going to listen, and maybe you could go get them, right? But I'm with you, Michael. I don't know, and you guys, I think, know how I feel about Ryan Day. I really think Ryan Day is the guy, and I think we're going to find that out.
We are going to find that out.
Well, we definitely find that out one way or another, but I think we're going to find it out in a good way. At least I'm optimistic that we are.
I hope so, yeah.
We kept all those players there. I mean, the guy has won the offseason. That doesn't count for anything, but it does set you up to be able to have the year you think you want to have. And so I'm anxious to see what happens.
He wins a lot of off seasons, though. Ohio State's very good about winning the off season.
Well, this was a lot different this year.
This was way different.
It is a lot different this year.
A lot of those juniors that should have been in the NFL right now.
Yep, 100%. They won the portal too. So that's 2 wins. I mean, those are massive. You know.
And I know that the big debate there is that wasn't Ryan Day, that was the NIL. But I will push back on that and take Ryan Day's side and say there's no amount of NIL. There's only so much you can do with NIL, right? Did NIL play a part with a guy like?
If the culture's bad, NIL doesn't mean anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and those guys like Emeka Egbuka and JTT, those guys were going to be borderline first-round picks. Yes. That's a lot of money. So to tell me that that's all NIL, I think is
Does Egbuka come back? Does Egbuka come back if he didn't get injured?
I think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
You don't think he comes back?
Nope.
I'm the one that's fine into Ryan Day and the culture thing. Now you guys are going against it. I'm finally taking. I'm giving
Marvin Harrison left. I mean, if you're going to be a mid-first rounder, you're gone, right? Like,
well, has Harrison really left though? Because he's definitely hanging around the program.
He is hanging around the
program. I guess
even Indy, right?
I guess even if Emeka Egbuka wasn't hurt, I don't think he was going to have the statistically stellar season that everybody thought, just based off of how the offense was going and how McCord was.
Yeah.
So I guess it's hard for me to envision a case in which he would leave. He was never – I don't – even 100% healthy, I don't think he was ever going to be an early round pick.
I think it would have been mid-first round, right? I think it's in that area.
But he was going to compete with – either way, which is what it would have been this year, right?
Yeah, the tape still doesn't lie, right? I mean, you still see what the guy's got when he's healthy. And the fact, though, that he didn't stay healthy, I think probably played into him coming back.
Yeah. I mean, same thing with Travion, right? Like, you have to think, like, Travion stays healthy. He has a huge year. He's gone, right? But when he requested his paperwork, they're telling him, like, third or fourth round grade. And that money is huge. There's a huge difference between, at bottom first, early second. And
years ago, he's gone, right? But because NIL, you can make up for that money you didn't get.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the interesting part, is that NIL has kept those guys around, gives them a little bit more incentive to say, hey, you know what, improve your draft stock, still make a little bit of money, and then, have a big year and then go off and have a really good end. It prepares them even more.
Maybe Jackson Smith and Jigba comes back if NIL was a bigger deal when he went out. So anyway, it's a brave ball game.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I got us way off course here. Sorry.
There's a lot of variables and ifs, ands, and buts, but I'm very thankful for the talent that they brought back, because, like, I truly believe that there's no clearer path to do. Again, I'm not going to talk to the playoffs. There's a lot of things that have to go your way. It's a long season, but there's no clearer path to win the Big Ten than what he's gotten. Michigan is completely decimated. Oregon's the only good game on the schedule. It's just, it lines up. You got 5 quarterbacks that were all rated 4 stars or higher. One of them's got to be good, by the grace of God. You know what I mean? It's just, it's at this point, it's pure statistics that something has to go. You have to literally try not to be good to screw this up. You got a Pac-12 head coach as your offensive coordinator. It doesn't make any sense if they lose the Big Ten.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would be. If you're a betting man, you're putting Ohio State down as the winner of the Big Ten. Oregon is close, right? Oregon's close.
Right.
Have that game with Ohio State coming out there, but those two should be clear front runners.
I mean, they definitely should. But again, like quarterback last year, you kind of looked at the room. You said a couple 5 stars, a couple 4 stars, something should work out, right? It didn't. So, there's always that fear that it might not work out. Now, do I think that that's going to be the case this year? No. Actually, someone's going to emerge, and I think whoever emerges is going to be really, really good, considering the skill that they have. But again, it's happened before. I mean,
but again, that's where we differ, is because this is not the NFL where it's like, oh, the Cleveland Browns, they're stuck with Deshaun Watson for 30 years. No, he went out, he gets the best of the best. He's Ohio State's Ryan Day, and he went out and he got McCord, and I like McCord. I don't blame McCord. I think we had a conversation last week. I think McCord is going to have a lot more success at Syracuse than you do. In the eyes of Buckeye Nation, McCord was a clunker, right?
But yeah, here's the thing.
7th round ready.
If you look at the stats of McCord, though, he was not, right? Like,
I like McCord.
We've gotten so conditioned to have a Justin Fields, a CJ Stroud, that you get a guy that isn't quite them, but pretty close, and it's not good enough, right?
Wow.
And you lost to Michigan. So that also, but so does CJ Stroud, So
that's true. But they were at least competitive. I mean, like this year, it was competitive, right? But I think a lot of it has to do with the defense. If CJ Stroud had the defense that Kyle McCord had this past year, do you think they lose those games?
Yeah. No.
All I know is we're not playing horse hand grenades. Okay.
That is true.
That's what I know.
And nuclear warfare.
Listen,
you can just get close on that.
I like McCord. Ask Michael. I'm usually the McCord defender, but if for the sake of this argument, I'll meet you halfway and say that he wasn't the ideal quarterback. My point is there's one defining factor there, and it's the dude who got to pick whatever he had. I know someone, he wanted Quinn Ewers. No, that went out the window when Quinn Ewers left Columbus, and he had opportunity to do that. And when they were going away games, he sat his ass at home. That wasn't, if he wanted to keep Ewers, he would have done a better job, and he didn't. And that's fine. I don't know. I'm not in the room. I don't know those guys. We got to see 15 minutes. I don't know how they are. Maybe after Devin Brown he pooped himself in practice. I don't know. I'm not there. All I'm saying is this is Ohio State. I said it. You are the quarterback guru. This is the guy. This is a 5-star guy. Kyle McCord was rated higher than CJ Stroud coming in, and this is what we got. So, in my mind of like, okay, one of these guys should work out just, by pure luck. But that's why I'm blaming.
It still has to happen. Yeah, it still has to happen.
That's what I'm saying.
And you could tell too, right? If you want to go back and talk about Kyle McCord, like I've never seen Ryan Day get so upset at a quarterback. I saw him get
trust him.
Upset.
Didn't trust him at all.
At McCord, right? He just yelled at him on the sidelines. Like every time it was a 3-and-out. It was McCord was getting lit up on the sidelines. So
even on some of those crucial plays where it was like, okay, we're gonna Marv run across her. It's like, like you clearly have no trust in the dude. You're giving him one option, and I do side with Michael when Michael rolled his eyes when you were ripping off the stats. There was I know that the stats show that it was closer, but anybody who watched it, I mean, there was a difference, right? And that just
listen. I'm not saying there wasn't a difference. He's not CJ Stroud. He's not, but he's a lot. He was a top 10 QBR quarterback in the country.
He was not the issue.
Right.
So
I mean, he was solid, but I mean, do you think he's national championship caliber of quarterback?
Well, we only lost to Michigan by 6 points.
Well,
I think you could have won a national title.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're saying that, but Stetson Bennett won a national title.
What's that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
What? He won 2.
Yeah, Stetson Bennett won 2 national championships.
Yeah,
but that dude was in college for 7 years and still didn't get a degree. What do you mean?
CJ Stroud didn't win a national title.
Craig Krenzel won a national title.
You gotta have luck. You guys know you gotta have luck, but you came 6th. You played Michigan better than anybody else in the country. Say what you want. At Michigan, and he was a quarterback, and so and he doesn't get hit on that last play. Who knows, right? Maybe
he also doesn't throw that first pick as well. I mean,
that was horrible. That was horrible.
I mean, that was the game right there.
Oh yeah.
And so
I said when it happened, I said this game's going to be close enough. That may have just cost Ohio State the game, right when it happened. Right. And it did.
Right. Because you have to think about it again. Is he national championship caliber? Those kind of plays are not national championship kind of plays. And that's why I think that he's just, like everyone calls him mid-court, and I kind of agree with that.
So I think that I think I'm picking up what you're putting down as far when you say national championship caliber, I immediately think of like, but you're not necessarily talking about that. You're talking about, is this guy smart enough and trust?
Does he have? It's the traits. It's all about the traits.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have the dude. Right, and he wasn't the dude.
Right.
He wasn't Deshaun Watson. He wasn't. I don't know any of the
Cam Newton. Jameis Winston.
Those examples are really not. You're picking. I think
they were good leaders.
Maybe Colt McCoy would be a good example of somebody with a comparable dude. Cam Newton. We're talking about who's maybe the one best college quarterbacks of all time.
Right. But I'm just saying, like those kind of plays, like Cam Newton did it. You wouldn't expect Kyle McCord to do those type of things, right? Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
But Stetson Bennett won a championship.
Right, but he did those things.
If you heard Ryan Day earlier in the year say, "I know how this team has to win," he knew it, right? He knew how the team had to win. And it was not to rely on the quarterback. It was to play solid defense.
Right.
Use the Ferrari you had on the outside with Marvin Harrison Jr. Try to get the running game going, which they couldn't really do. And that's, if you just listen to him, he knew it. He knew he didn't have that guy under center, but he had a guy that he could get it done with, right? Yeah, last year was a different Ohio State team last year.
It was.
Yes.
It was.
Not by choice. No, I completely agree.
Exactly.
And I agree to a certain extent. I just think that the examples that you're providing are all world. You're just all those guys are John Elway's. But I think that's why Ryan went out and got Will Howard, because Will Howard has a few games where it's like, dude, he put the team on his back. He didn't make mistakes. He didn't need to do. You could trust him. You could talk to him and kind of figure out what he's comfortable with, what he's seeing.
Would JT Barrett be a better example?
Yeah, that
Yeah, I think
works.
so. Yeah, I think so because that's the same kind of guy, right?
National title with JT Barrett.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
After he went out and Cardale Jones took over, but still.
right.
No,
He's got those. He's got those traits. C.J. Stroud had them. Justin Fields had them. They didn't win titles. I mean, there's
Right.
plenty of guys. There's plenty of guys that have those type of traits that can get you there. And Kyle McCord does not have those. He just doesn't.
But do you think he? I mean, I guess it's a moot point now because he's on to Syracuse. I just don't think. I think that some of that. I don't know. I hate placing that much blame on him, if that makes sense.
I think the offensive line was more an issue than Kyle McCord, right? I mean, that's. But
I think that gets out your growth when you got to run for your life and things aren't going well, right? I think that could, you're talking about mental capacity basically, and you're right. He didn't have that at all. But you can't deny he can sling the rock. I mean, he was a 5-star for a reason.
One thing I saw with McCord is he didn't throw guys open. He threw when they were open, right? And that was the difference between him and the other.
Had no anticipation. But to get back on track for the spring, you mentioned the offensive line. I do think the offensive line is going to be much improved this year. Diamond Jackson,
better be.
He was an All-American. I think he's going to return.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Hearing about Luke Montgomery and his growth, I think he's going to play a pivotal role. Seth McLaughlin, I know he didn't start the
spring
fine. Session.
Seth McLaughlin's going to be fine.
No worries.
He's going to be shoved in there. Carson Hinsman is, I got a lot of faith in him. I understand that he's come over a lot of issues. Tegra Shabola was a guy that I was a big fan of. I compared him to like Corey Stringer light, the way he just kind of body bag dudes in high school. And I think that'd be kind of a fun, and the run style offense that they're probably going to be leaning into, he could play a role. So I think that the offensive line is going to be better off this year. Josh Simmons, I'm a big fan of him. The short, it's a hard task coming from the Mountain West to the Big Ten. He did a pretty damn good job of that. Mm-hmm. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? What'd you say?
I thought it took him, but eventually.
A lot of these guys are now in the program more than 1 year. You gotta get better, right? If you don't, there's a problem. So, I like the makeup of it. I think Chip Kelly is going to help with that because there's going to be a much more up tempo where you're not trying to go down. I know he goes downhill, but it's going to help. I think that offensive line, as long as they have some depth there, right, to not have to sit back and power the ball down the field, which just frankly was not their strong suit last year. Spread them out a little bit, run the ball a little bit quicker with quicker tempo, where you're now the aggressor and the defense is on their heels. I think it helps a lot.
I think what's really going to help this offensive line, what I would do is I would revolve my offense around running an outside sweep to the short side. That's what I would. We haven't done that enough. I'm joking.
Wait. More short side runs. We love it. No. But you have to think about the short side runs. We love those, right? Well, especially when you've got one of the fastest backs of the country. But with Justin Fry specifically, his best offensive line was when Chip Kelly was his head coach. I think that emerges and it comes back.
Great point. People forget they were there together, right?
Right. 100%. And Justin Fry did an amazing job while he was there. And that's one of the reasons.
With players that weren't as good as what he's dealing with in Columbus.
Right. And I think that's one of the reasons why Ryan Day went out and got him. He's like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. And now they're reunited. I think this only helps. I think that's actually and Josh, you can recall this. I was calling for Fry's head for a while, right? And the jury is still out for me. He has to get that offensive line right this year. But again, though, the fact that he was great under Chip Kelly and now they're together again, I think that's going to pay huge dividends for them this year and in the years beyond.
Mike, you're getting me excited now. See, that's a really good point. That should that'll be fun.
Yeah, it definitely will. And speaking of Chip Kelly, I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he has aspirations to take another head coaching job after what he said the other day. He's happy coaching a position group. He does not want, like we talked about earlier, he does not want all of that stress to have to go out and do the recruiting and deal with the boosters and all that stuff. That's on Ryan Day. All he's got to do is just coach offensive football. And I think that's going to help him as well.
Do you guys agree with that? Do you think he was just saying that, or do you think that's how he really feels?
So I do.
Because you got to say the right things. You have to say the right thing.
Sure.
Right?
You do.
So
And he's probably not the head coach of UCLA after this coming season, right? Like he probably was going to be somewhere else anyway, unless they came out the mat and somehow had an amazing year. What do you guys think? You think he really is locked and loaded here at Ohio State?
I think it can become a permanent spot, but my understanding was that he was reaching out to NFL teams with potential opportunities beforehand. The UCLA gig was, like you said, it was coming to an end. Everybody saw it. He wasn't willing to play the game. They were already reaching out to Deshaun Foster. It was kind of fading away. So I could see him leaving for an NFL job, but I don't think he's going to leave for another head coach. I don't think he's going to leave for another college. It's got to be an NFL job.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, Josh. I think that if the NFL comes calling, I think that he's going to entertain an offer. Obviously, it has to be the right offer as well. Because, like you said, he was looking for an offer initially, and then this kind of opened up when Bill O'Brien decided to leave for Boston College. But I think that in the short term, over the next couple of years, I don't think he goes anywhere. I think Ryan Day is really set, and especially when you look at all of the skill position talent, the quarterbacks that are in that room. He's going to have so many toys to play with, arguably more than when he did when the Buckeyes faced off against him in the national championship a few years ago. He's got more talent on this team than he does on that team, and this is all. The majority of it is young talent as well. So, I mean, he's in a great spot. And personally, if I'm him, I'm like, I'm going to hang around for at least 3-4 years to watch these kids grow.
If they do what they're supposed to do, I'm not trying to exaggerate, not trying to be a homer, an Ohio State fan. If they just do what the odds say they're going to do, which is make a deep run at the playoffs, and that makes the fan base happy, and Ohio State has no problem paying these coaches. Coordinators are getting paid more and more every year. And Ohio State just hired an athletic director that loves to write checks, as we saw with Jimbo Fisher. So it's not inconceivable to see him being here for a long time, just because if they make a deep run, he's going to be the highest paid offensive coordinator in college football. That's not unreasonable.
It's a pretty good gig, right? You don't have all the stress of being the head coach, and yet you're getting paid head coach money for a lot of other places, and you can really kind of settle in and have a good run. I mean, it's like Jim Knowles, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure he's loving life as well, right? So, not there's a lot worse opportunities out there than what he's got right in front of him. As long as they win, right? And the offense looks good, which I think it will, then he's in a pretty good spot.
And he really doesn't have to recruit all that much. I mean, Ryan Day pretty much handles it. Brian Hartline taking over the wide receivers. You've got his boy doing the offensive line. I just don't. I feel like the pressure, a lot of that pressure, that head coach pressure is off him, and he can just go and have fun. And
I don't think he hated recruiting either. I think he just hated kissing the butt of the boosters, and he doesn't have to. That's part of recruiting. That is part of that whole system. But I guess I should rephrase. I don't think he liked the NIL transfer stuff. I don't think he's got any problem visiting a high school kid, talking to a high school kid, getting on the phone, visit. I don't think he's got any problem doing that. I just don't think he wants to sit in a room with what they had that event last Saturday for the 1870 Society, where everybody that paid $2,000 got to sit in a room and talk to coaches, and
Did you go, Josh?
Ryan Day's head, whatever. You don't want to do that stuff, and those days are over.
You didn't use your discretionary income to go to that?
Yeah.
I mean, that push, like going back to the whole Dylan Booster stuff. I mean, that's what pushed Nick Saban.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that this keeps Kelly in the college game for a little bit longer because he really doesn't have to deal with it. I mean, Ryan Day's young enough that he doesn't, like, he's got plenty of energy to do that. He's in his mid-40s. Like, he's good, right? I mean, Ryan Kelly was his offensive coordinator when he was a quarterback in Delaware. Like, that's the age gap that we're talking about here. And,
he was head coach, right?
He might have been his head coach or offensive coordinator. One of the
New Hampshire, right?
Yeah, right. And I mean, either way, I mean, I think that it takes so much more off his plate. He can just concentrate on calling plays.
Which he's very good at, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think that Ryan Day will stay in Columbus as long as we'll have him. I could see him. I think he's kind of a goal-oriented guy. I don't see him bolting for the NFL unless he wins a national championship here. I could see him doing that, though. It's not like he went to Ohio State, and it is stressful, and they're expanding the recruiting window even further. And, they're making a lot of changes that are coming down the pipe, and they're not all going to be super fun for coaches to deal with. So I don't want to act like, Ryan Day's a lifer, because that's the same thing that he did up north, and that was wrong. That's inaccurate, right? You don't know how full their gas tank is. Only they know that.
True. That's true. But, Harbaugh also was flirting with the NFL for the past 3 years, and you knew that was an inevitable move for him. Whereas Ryan Day has not done. He's happy. He's content where he is.
I'm just saying.
I get what you're saying. But, again, from my viewpoint, it doesn't make sense for him to really, unless a perfect NFL job opens up, which at this point in time, unless you get that GM head coach role, which they don't really like to do anymore. You're just not. It's just I just don't see him leaving unless he gets canned.
Yeah, he's pretty ultra competitive too, right? He wants to win. So
yeah, I don't think he's
unfinished business if he left before.
I agree with that.
Sticking it to everyone, I think, at this point. Right?
I would agree with that.
He wants to stick it to Lou Holtz. He wants to stick it to everyone. So
Lou Holtz was asking for it.
I would love it if Ohio State won the national title. The first thing he said is, "I want to know where Lou Holtz is right now."
Oh God, that was so cringy. What a way to end a good win! Oh no, why did you?
Well, I love the fact that you could hear in the background Jerry, sports information director saying, "Calm down." He said, "Watch this." Watch this, and then he went straight into the. I want to right now.
That's funny. All right, giving us some good laughs last year. Right?
Yeah, it'll never die.
No,
the meme will never. It'll be out there forever now, right?
Yep, it's out there.
What a shame! What a shame. Of course, Dabo Sweetie's got enough cringe to fill up the time. He's still a walking, talking legend as well. So
yes, he is. He is.
Oh yeah. Which was actually a topic of conversation a couple pods ago.
What? I'd take him. I'd take him. I'd take him. I put Dabo. If Dabo wants to come here, replace my dad.
Michael and I argued for probably 30 minutes about who, because I wanted Ryan Day fired, and he was like, no, only he goes, okay. We kind of met halfway, because I was like, I would fire him for a guy like Lance Leopold, up and coming, and he's like, no, it's got to be someone established. And 30 minutes went by, and we're both staring at each other and be like, oh no.
Yeah. It's Dabo. It's Dabo.
He's the nickel. Well, that's exactly. He's the nickelback of head coaches. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, I don't want to listen to it. Nothing else on the radio, and they have 85 platinum hits. Who's gonna?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just
he
how
wins. He recruits. He's
I think he's struggled with the NIL, right? I mean,
he has. Very similar to Ryan Day. Very similar to Ryan Day.
Early, right?
He's changing. He's changing. The Tigers changing his stripes just ever so slowly, right? Yeah. Before he was only hiring within. He went out and he hired Garrett Riley. That didn't go so hot this past year. But again, we saw it with. I don't think Dabo Swinney's. I'm not sitting here tooting his horn either. But if you're talking about Ryan Day making changes, Dabo Swinney's doing it in the exact same fashion. We're just taking longer and longer. You're seeing them start to reach out to guys. They're eventually you're going to start to see them reach out to guys in the transfer portal, and he's hired more people from outside his little Clemson window. And whether it works out or not, I don't know. You got to do it fast enough. That's the key for him. But that's kind of because I'm like, all right.
If only he would make changes as fast as he runs out of the tunnel at the beginning of
the
game, he'd be in good shape. So odd. It's such an odd thing to watch run out of it.
Is that going to be in the new game?
I hope so.
Him taking a tumble down that little hill.
Fall.
Yeah.
Fall.
What someone sent me the photo of someone shared a photo of him when they did Military Appreciation Day, where all the coaching staff was wearing the camo pants, and he's running down in his camo pants and his tennis shoes.
Oh boy.
It's so stupid, man.
Oh
whatever.
boy.
Teach their own. Is there anything else we need to add before we wrap this up? Did you want to talk about the Arch Manning thing a little bit? It kind of got some pretty big hype. A lot of people were talking about it. Kind of got me reflecting on what would happen if I was an Ohio State star. Would I be thinking differently? Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, but first, let's preface this with this, though, as well. He did come out later and say, hey, the reason why I didn't do it is because I'm not a starter. I don't want to be a backup in the game.
He said that?
Yes.
He said that?
He said that.
Did he say that, Phil? Did I miss that? Is that confirmed?
I'm going to trust
he said that.
That seems like one of those fake quotes, like, "Oh, I didn't want to be in the game because I was going to be a 69 overall."
It's
you know
in
what
the
I mean?
game.
It's like,
No, I'm not.
it's like, dude. Well, I thought it was odd that he made that decision because it's not like he's not an endorsement guy. I mean, he signed a huge deal with
ESPN reported it that said Arch Manning wants to wait until he is the guy at Texas before opting into a sports.
It is because he doesn't want to be rated a 69 overall. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Good for him, dude. Well, I was gonna say, just like I said, he signed that Panini deal.
I mean, he doesn't need, he can buy the game because he's got plenty of NIL money. He's got plenty of family money as well. An extra $600 ain't gonna help him. So
no,
that's
a pretty petty reason to say no, though.
And it is true, but it is what he said.
Yeah. What I guess that changes the topic of conversation. I was going to ask, because I was immediately starting fun of it. I thought, would I be making fun of it if it was an Ohio State guy? Or would I be trying to justify it? But I probably be making fun of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't want to be in the game? Like, let's be real here. Like,
although it's so far, it's been so long since they actually had the game, right? The college kids now weren't really growing up, right?
11 years.
Yeah,
I think the last iteration was the 14, which came out in 13. So 11 years. Yeah. Still, Josh and I talked about it. We still fire up the old Xbox to get on the dynasty mode every once in a while.
Yeah, that's right.
Won a national championship with Akron.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. Eventually, someone is going to hold out. It's just going to be the nature of the beast. But I'm not getting enough money. If it was last year, it probably would have been Caleb Williams. In all honesty.
I can see that.
Of course, I shouldn't say that, right?
Had his nail polish on the game.
Yeah, right. But they also did say that they were going to pay some of the star players more than that $600 stipend. So
did they say that?
They did.
I saw that was a rumor, but I didn't know if that was confirmed.
No, I'm pretty sure that I saw it confirmed.
So the deal was, I know they did the smart thing that they did was they made the guys sign. It's not just for this year's game; it's for however long you're in college.
I did not know.
Yeah, so you get the $600. I don't know if the $600 is yearly or whatever, but like that, whatever you sign up for, that's it. We're not talking about it anymore. You'll get a game yearly. Shut up.
That's a really good move, right?
Because
like a Jeremiah Smith, right? You lock him in for $600,
right? Yeah. For 3 years. Yeah.
But that might be one of the guys that Michael's referring to, because if you're negotiating that far ahead of time, and some of those young guys, I mean, there's right now there's 5-star coming in, that are last year you saw it. I mean, I think I even got one of these cards right here.
What do we got here?
Brandon Innes, baby.
Yeah.
But where they're signing these deals, which by the way, I got this bad boy. Michael, you remember that recruiting expert? You remember him?
Oh, I can't see that name. Max Ray, I do. Yeah, played it. It's here for a minute.
He transferred to Colorado.
Yeah, I don't know if he's even there. I have not kept up with him.
No, he's not. Dude, that was He was what, in the 2018 class?
Was it
2017 class? He was old.
Yeah, I guess he would be. Well, maybe not. I don't know. You're seeing some with an 8th year seniors, so.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry. Yeah.
So that COVID deal really messed everything up, and then the SAA just says, "Oh, you're injured. Here's another year. Here's another 2 years."
Guys are graduating from medical school, still playing.
Oh my goodness! How old's that Michigan quarterback? He's like 28, isn't he? 27.
Is he?
Yeah.
Orgy?
He's old. He's old. No, not Orgy. I think he was at Iowa previously. Let me find.
I know Joe Milton is like 25. He's gonna be like 25 when he gets drafted.
Those guys used to only play for BYU, right? Because they used to go on those pilgrimages. Yeah.
Jack Tuttle. He's gonna be 25 when the season rolls.
Oh, but he doesn't. That doesn't count. That's one of the.
Does he though? I mean, how many teams has he played for? I believe he started in Indiana. I believe he started in Utah. I think this is his third school.
Yeah, that guy needs to move on and go sell car insurance like a normal. That's his problem.
Yeah,
that's not. Dude, that stuff's getting ridiculous. That COVID year was the worst rule they ever. That was the dumbest thing that they've ever done. So stupid.
So hard to manage the.
No, just Indiana. Sorry, I got that wrong. But he's still like old, mid-20s. Should be moving on here.
All right. Well, we cracked the hour mark. We probably should be shutting it down. I know that this podcast wouldn't end with one of your favorite segments, Michael. Comparison time. I was watching some Aaron Scott tape. Watching some early 2000s.
Let's go.
Some early 2000s Ohio State tape. First of all, I love Aaron Scott. I think he can play as a true freshman. Probably my second. I love him. I think he's great. So fun watching his tape. My comparison.
Here we go.
I love your comparisons, by the way, because sometimes
here we go.
The other time, it's like, where are you coming from? Go ahead.
So I explained the Edric Houston comparison last week. And, Tim Anderson, another championship wrestler in high school, a high school All-American, top recruit.
They both had beards. Yeah.
So check this out.
Who?
Derek Ross.
Derek Ross. Okay, I could see that.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
This is very comparable to my Noah Brown comparison, where it's like when you look at it from the exterior, you're like, why, Josh? But if you dive deeper,
why, Josh?
But if you dive deeper, that's the kind of play stuff. Derek Ross doesn't get enough credit because he was he did not make the wide. He got suspended a whole season for academic issues, came back, had 7 interceptions in 1 year.
Okay.
Basically, and then left with the year eligibility, got drafted. Sarah was on the all rookie NFL team before everything kind of fell apart, was missing and stuff like that. But this was a guy who was uber athletic, uber talented, just couldn't quite put it all together to be an All-American, but had all the All-American ability you could want. I believe Bill Parcells even said he was a street player because he was just so athletic, he didn't even bother looking at the playbook, learning the zone. I think Aaron Scott is a more, like I said with my Noah Brown comparison, Jeremiah Smith, Aaron Scott is a more technically intelligent player than Derek Ross. Derek Ross was a quarterback in high school. So obviously he's much more well advanced, but I don't think that's a terrible comparison athletically.
I'll give you that one. I will never give you the Noah Brown, Jeremiah Smith comparison.
When is the last time Ohio State had a wide receiver that was that physically dominant, though? That worked out. Think about it.
Jeremiah Smith runs a 4.3 40. Noah Brown runs a 4.5 and is thick.
But that 4.3 40, that 4.3 40 is not laser. That's not confirmed.
Wow.
No, you've seen the tape.
But they dominate. But Noah Brown ran that in the combine, but he beat people vertically. You can't argue that he didn't have one of the best receiving games in all of Ohio State history against Oklahoma.
Well, that catch he made is the best catch I've ever seen, right? But
he had like 4 touchdowns.
Jeremiah Smith is long. Noah Brown's not. He's kind of a thicker guy, more possession. But that's just my opinion, right? You're never going to talk me into that one. But I do agree with most of your comparisons. But that one caught me a little off guard.
I think that to find a guy that's that physically intimidating coming in as a true freshman.
I would actually say Marvin Harrison Jr. is closer to Jeremiah Smith.
But you can't compare to Marvin Harrison. You can't do that, right?
Wow.
Because it's last year. Wow. That's recent. You can't. That's like recency bias 101.
But they're the same type of player, right? They're both long, rangy. They both can take the top off. They're both speedy. They both have great hands. To me, that's the guy that compares to him most closely.
Makes sense.
If you don't pick Marvin, Michael already said Marvin Harrison as well. If you weren't going to say Marvin Harrison, who's your next guy?
I have to think about it.
It would have been not Noah Brown. Benjamin Victor was the same. Victor was the same kind of recruit, and he didn't do anything.
That's true. Ben Victor.
You don't have a lot of luck with these guys. You got to go back.
Body wise, Ben Victor makes a lot of sense. He wasn't as fast.
No, he wasn't as thick either.
And he was way worse than Noah Brown too. Noah Brown was productive. He was only for 1 year.
Yeah, he was productive.
And he left with 2 years.
But he wasn't on the outside the most of the time. He was running through the middle of the field.
Right. Noah Brown?
Yeah, yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes. There are times when he got behind the defense, they threw it up and he made some plays, but he was not burning the top off of the defense.
He's not on the outside.
And maybe Jeremiah Smith will be that. I don't know, but he sure seems like it. He sure looks like it.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys, I don't. It's not that I hate Jeremiah Smith. I think I just like Noah Brown more than you guys.
Oh, I like Noah Brown.
I think a lot more than this.
I mean, the dude's been in the NFL for 7. Remember, too, he came in.
No.
He's carved out a good career. There's no doubt about it.
Very good. Yes.
Good. He's very talented.
Yes. But
all right, well, I'll stop defending it. Either way, it was less about production.
That's the only time I called you out on a comparison was that one. So you're
no, I don't. I have no regrets. I have no regret. Even Marvin Harrison, it's hard to find highlights where he's boom. This is my ball. You know what I mean? No, bro. Right. There's a couple. That was Noah Brown's game. I'm gonna throw it up, and I'm gonna just
possession. Possession wise, he would beat anybody for the ball.
I'm gonna body him. Yeah, Jeremiah. I think Jeremiah. I can see Jeremiah having very similar highlights.
He's got a little bit more net.
I didn't say he wasn't going to be better. I just meant the style of play.
Mike, in 2 years, we're going to bring this back up, and we're going to see how close you are to this comparison.
I cannot wait.
I think that, but it's the style of play. If he, I don't, and I think if Noah Brown would have stayed 2 more years, he probably would have been an All-American. I really truly believe that. I don't, like I said, if Jeremiah Smith is an All-American, that probably wouldn't deter because there's the style of play. I tell you what. I still stand by the article that I wrote that you bring up every so often about CJ Stroud. I defended that till the day I died.
I don't know what that one is. They both have CJ in the front. So is that
you don't remember that?
No, I don't. I don't.
Oh, I wrote an article a couple months ago. I thought, never mind. Never. I wrote an article about benching CJ Stroud for Coors.
For who?
For Quinn Ewers.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
And I stand by it.
Oh.
In the article, I never said CJ Stroud was
well, to be truthful, you weren't the only guy lambasting CJ Stroud early on. So
I stand by it. I never said CJ Stroud was bad. I said one of these guys is going to transfer. You have to at least give him a shot. They're going to transfer. And 2 of them did. Now Jack Miller ended up sucking. Completely. Yeah. But Quinn Ewers was good.
Yes.
Quinn Ewers was good. It would have been nice if they would have given Quinn Ewers a shot. Now, CJ Stroud ended up being the dude. I'm just saying. If anything, I am a victim of falling in the Quinn Ewers hype train.
It was the mullet.
Probably.
You like mullets?
It was bad.
It was. It's gone now.
He's like Santa shaved it all went away.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah.
It's gone now.
All right, Mike, we want to shut us down?
Yeah, that sounds great. Once again, we appreciate you listening to the Ohio State of Mind podcast. Like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff for us. We need some more subscriptions on YouTube. We
need any subscriptions on YouTube.
All right, fine.
Guys. We got 69 people watching right now, which is
hey,
nice.
If this is the most watched ever, you guys are having me back on, right?
It is.
Oh yeah. We've been doing it. We had over 300 on Facebook. We've been doing okay, but come on, guys. Click on the YouTube link.
Just a couple. Just 1 or 2 of you guys, and then more.
Thumbs up. I could only replay it so often.
To get that view count going,
YouTube is catching on, bro.
Try and get that ad revenue going. Just keep clicking on it.
Yeah. You can read all of our stuff on Buckeyes Wire. They'll make sure that everything we put out there is in tip-top shape. It looks good. It feels good. It reads good. Anything else you want to say over there, Phil?
No. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Appreciate it.
Again at some point. So you guys are doing a good job. Keep rocking it out and talking Ohio State football, basketball, whatever comes up. I like it.
All right. Sounds good. Josh, any last words?
Nah, Josh Keatley 16. Again, give us some likes on YouTube, you lazy bastard.
All right, go Bugs.
See you guys.